you have to enjoy what you're eating, but you also have to say, well, tomorrow I'm gonna be hungry again. You enjoy the meal you have in front of you, and then you get after it tomorrow.
If you want to be fulfilled and mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually well, focus more on gratitude. Here's the problem. When you have high self-belief, it's very hard to be grateful when you're living below your potential.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we teach you how to level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode. It was episode number 1340. Today, for episode number, well, I'm supposed to tell you, hold on, the 2 most important things for a healthy relationship. Today, for episode number 1341, how do you balance gratitude and goals? There was a time where I was pretty much just focused on gratitude. So every single day I would sit down and write out 3 things I was grateful for. There was another time where I think every single day I would sit down and write out the 3 things that I was ambitious for, the 3 big goals that I was trying to accomplish. Now, Alan, you brought this to me yesterday. You said write down 3 things you're grateful for, and then write down 3 goals. So right now, I would say I'm balancing those 2 better than ever. We heard somebody say this. I think it was Ed Milet. He said, what did he say? Blissful dissatisfaction?
Grateful dissatisfaction?
Grateful
dissatisfaction? I think we came up with that or something.
Somebody came up with
iteration of it.
Yeah, somebody had something where it was kind of like, it was basically, I'm grateful, but I'm dissatisfied. And I was like, I don't really like this. I don't like dissatisfied, because that means, in a way, you're really not grateful. You can't be grateful for something you're not satisfied with. It doesn't work that way. I like grateful ambition.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm grateful for what I have, but I'm also hungry for what I desire more of. I like that frame. I like that balance. And I say that on podcasts all the time, because people will say, what's it like to have blah, 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 whatever. I always feel weird saying that on here, because I'm sure when you listen to us every day, I don't want it to sound like I'm the man. I don't want that. I don't want it to sound like that.
I don't think it sounds like that.
But I am the man. So it's like, no, I'm just kidding.
Also, quick emendation.
I don't know what that means, and how dare you throw words at me that I don't understand. Go ahead.
You know how the U.S. Constitution has amendments?
I haven't read it in a minute, but okay. I'll take your word for it.
Okay. Yeah. Neither I haven't read it in at least a couple weeks. A quick amendation to your grateful ambition.
Yeah.
I would like to amend it.
Okay.
Let's bring this to a vote.
Okay.
I vote to amend it.
I don't know. Amend it to what?
I'm going to amend it to
you gotta tell me what the
aspiration.
Nah.
Doesn't like it.
Aspiration.
Aspiration is a better word than ambition, man. Ambition has a negative, greedy tone. Aspiration is better. Aspiration is like inspiration. You know
grateful aspiration. It doesn't flow the same.
I know.
That's why I name things around here.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
My article was micro failure for macro success. Kev was like, how about you call it how to fail your way to success?
It's a great name.
It's like, it is a great name. Yeah.
It's a great name.
We're a good team.
We are a wonderful team.
Mm-hmm.
1,341 episodes in, you and I, just getting after it, just trying to figure it all out, the universe, everything.
Grateful aspiration, son.
I like grateful ambition. I'm going to stick with it.
You stick with it.
And it's so wired in the way I say it that I would have to think about it every time I said it. I'd probably mess it up. I'd be like, grateful perspiration. I'm grateful for what I have, but I'm sweating for the future, sweating for what I need out of life. That's not it. Okay, interesting. I look like an idiot here. Grateful ambition. The reason I wanted to do this episode is because somebody asked me this the other day. And I want to frame this with the understanding that this was, number one, this is a very interesting podcast where it was kind of like a little bit at the end, I'm going to try to tear what you do apart. Not in a negative way. It's very hard to explain. The person told me, he's like, in the beginning, I just want to learn about you. In the end, I'm going to come at you kind of like a shark. And I was like, I don't know what that means, man, but let's do it. Let's see what happens. And he said, why should people listen to your podcast and not the millions of other self-improvement shows? It's like, first of all, there's not millions of other shows. I understand what you're saying. And I was like,
come at me with the shark. At least get your facts right.
Hit me with the truth. And I said, okay, again, one of my big fears is looking like I have a large ego. So I want to preface it with that. I don't want to sound egotistical. I said, most people are either all one way or all the other. There aren't a lot of people who are well harmonized in the self-improvement industry. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you to get up and get after it, but I'll also tell you to make sure you have a very deep understanding of what fills your cup so you can get up and get after it tomorrow. I will talk about external results as much as I will internal fulfillment. And I don't think there's a lot of that going on. I said, that's what makes us different. There are some people who are super spiritual and they say, the law of attraction is everything, and I surrender to the universe, and I know I'll get what I want in the right time. Okay? I think that's one polarity. There's also other people that say spirituality is not a thing. You must grind your face off every single day. Don't worry about your family. Don't worry about sleep. Success and money is everything. The truth is somewhere in the middle. The truth is, yes, the law of attraction is a thing. Hard work is also a thing. Flow is a thing. Discipline is a thing. Sacrifice is a thing. Fulfillment is a thing. And I think when it comes to gratitude and goals, it's very similar, where some people are overly grateful for everything at the expense of their future potentially. Some people are so focused on their goals that they're not grateful for all the amazing things they have. Mm-hmm. And I just think if you can figure out where you are on that, it'll help you understand yourself at a deeper level, and it might help you get better results in life. I've realized that I require more celebration than Alan. I sent you a message. It was yesterday. I don't know. We've been talking a lot about that because for the first 3 years, I pretty much just tried to be Alan. It's like, okay, Alan's going to be successful. I want to be successful. Be like Jeff. You ever seen that movie Like Mike? Little Bow Wow?
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah. This is
I saw previews.
Like Jeff. Is this movie?
Okay. Is this
movie? And I'm the basketball player. I'm like, that's Jeff. He's Jeff. I'm gonna be like Jeff. Like Jeff.
How'd it go? Pretty good?
Not really. No, it wasn't great. So for the first 3 years, that was my focus. It's like, all right, what does Alan do? I got to do what Alan does. And it was. I mean, it's gotten me a lot of really good results. Then it became, well, I have unique strengths and differences that Alan doesn't that would be beneficial to bring to the business and the podcast and all that. All right, cool. Let me figure that out. Then it was like, Alan doesn't really celebrate because Alan's not doing this to celebrate, but I'm not really doing it to celebrate either, but I think I require celebration more than Alan does. And that was an interesting thing as well. So I think, what is your, I won't say balance, but what is your order of this? Gratitude versus goals. Like, how do you, and I'm not saying how you do it is right for everybody, but I just want a deeper understanding of how you do it so I can kind of jam on that.
This is good. This is really good. What you want to, we talk about Drive to 5 all the time. For the new listeners, Drive to 5 is its own thing, but also something we use for everything. So a scale from 0 to 10.
Isn't that an interesting? It's its own thing, but we also use it for everything.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I ain't as good as I once was.
That's what they say. That song is
as I ever was.
Still about sex, I believe. I don't know. If anybody knows, let us know. I think the song is about sex. I don't know. That's what Taryn told me after we said it on stage several times at Next Level Live, and I was like, "Oh, interesting. Yeah, no, that kind of makes sense." Okay.
Yeah. So 0 to 10 is everything's a spectrum, in my mind. Everything. And the key is to find 5, the center, to stay centered. So picture someone who's centered, someone who has goals, they have dreams, they're working toward them, and they're future-oriented, but they're also building in the present, and they're centered. They're not flustered. But they're also really grateful for everything they have, for everything they've accomplished, who they've become, the fact that they have a roof over their head and food in their fridge. That's the point that we all aspire to get to. Here's the thing. it's an infinite game. You're always finding 5. It's like a pendulum that swings back and forth and then slides the scale. Kevin likes sliding scale.
Yeah.
Can you explain what that means?
Definitely not. No, I've heard it, and I have a very good visualization of it, but I don't know, and I'm serious, I don't know if I could explain it in words. No.
All right, let me try. Okay, picture a pendulum like a clock. Tick-tock, tick-tock, right? Okay, cool. All right, let's say you're overly grateful, for lack of better phrasing. Sounds weird, but you're overly grateful, meaning you're too present, too in the moment, too grateful. You're not building towards your future and doing the hard work, okay? So that means you're at like a 3. Let's say you're at a 3. So from 0 to 10, overly grateful is 0, overly goals is 10, okay? You're at a 3. Now you realize you're not getting to your dreams. You're not living in your calling. So you go, you know what? I got to stop being grateful. I got to get my ass together, man. I got to get in the gym, right? Or whatever. So then you overswing so now all of a sudden you start coming to 5. Now you're at 4, 5. Uh-oh. I've got momentum toward my goals. Let's rock and roll, baby. Oh my God. 6, 7, 8. And then at 8, you're like, am I grateful? Am I entitled? Like, what's going on? So you stretch, but you don't snap, but you're close to snapping. 9, 10. You're way outside your comfort zone. Now you're like, you're not grateful enough for your partner. You're not grateful enough for the roof over your head. You've lost perspective. You live in a free country that's wealthy. You've lost perspective. You get to work from home. You have internet that didn't exist 30 years ago, right? That's why I use what I call perspective level sets. So if you've ever seen a movie like Hotel Rwanda or The Last Samurai, or I have these certain movies that I'll watch that remind me of how blessed I am. There's a lot of countries out there that don't have the opportunities that we do. And I never want to forget that. So whenever I start getting overly focused on goals are what you don't have yet. Gratitude is what you already have. See how they're diametric opposites? Sliding scale, back to the original point. Now you swing back and now you go back to gratitude. Now all of a sudden the whole scale slides over. So now 5 is a different point. Analogy. If you want to be an Olympic athlete, you're going to have to focus on goals a little more than gratitude. If you want to be fulfilled and mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually well, focus more on gratitude. Here's the problem. When you have high self-belief, it's very hard to be grateful when you're living below your potential. You and I talked the other day. I told you Michael Phelps went through a lot of mental health challenges after the 2008, 2012, and then 2000. I don't know how many Olympics he's been in, but the best swimmer in the history of the world. So his whole childhood was train, goals, goals, goals. It messed him up mentally, and he talks about it openly. And understandable. 4 years of training for one day? Are you kidding me? Like, Olympic athletes go through some shit, man. It's very hard to stay grateful when you're constantly looking to get one more millisecond better. But that's also required in order to achieve your dream of winning an Olympic gold medal. So if you honestly have that dream, you're not going to be fulfilled just being grateful on the beach, because you should be in the ocean swimming or whatever, right? And so that's what we all need to find, is we need to find 5. And the moment you find it, life is going to throw something your way that throws you off. Maybe it makes you overly grateful or overly goal-oriented. But I think my life is spent, and this will be the last piece that I say to answer your question. What's the optimal amount for you? It's Goldilocks. Is it too hot or too cold? Is the bed too big or too small? Is the bowl too big or too small? Everything is Goldilocks. But when you grow, now what was too small is now not big enough or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I've gotten lost in the sauce here of now I'm thinking about soup and bowls of cereal. I had a bowl of cereal last night, Frosted Flakes. But I'm really crushing this cut. But brother, that's what it is. It's you have a different center point than I do.
Mm.
My proper amount of gratitude to goals ratio is different than yours. Yours is different than yours used to be, but it's not as different as mine is. And that's what I hope our listeners take away is what is optimal. I got to a point recently where I was hitting burnout and I was like, I'm overly goals. I got to go back. You've noticed a shift back to gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I need it. Otherwise, I'm going to burn to the ground, and that's not good for anybody. But if I'm only ever relaxy-taxy, that's not good for everybody either. And that's, you got to be real careful of that one.
What's going on, guys? My name is Austin, and I've been working with Kevin for a few months now. If there's one thing that I find super valuable is his expertise on how to position the podcast to the right audience and fit the content into the overall business plan. And frankly, when we work together, he challenges me a lot. There were some tough conversations that he initiated with me so that I can really grow in the business. Besides the coaching part, the editing team does amazing work with editing and show notes and staying on top of all communications. Overall, my experience working with Kevin has really been top-notch.
It's the interesting thing. This is what came to me when you were saying that. You hear people say practice gratitude. What does that mean? That to you, if you're watching or listening, what does practice gratitude mean? I know what practice baseball means, or practice singing, or whatever. Practice podcasting. I know what that looks like. For you out there, what is your unique version of practicing gratitude? How do you know when you're, other than the perspective reset, how do you know when you're practicing gratitude?
Long pause. I just need a minute to think about this because this is something I am constantly thinking about. I read a book regularly called A Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And for the women listening, it's a great book. He means mankind, not just men. But I think I can tell by how I'm behaving. So let me give you a tangible example. On the last episode, I talked about being unkind in the gym to Emilia for a small moment. That would be a lack of gratitude. It's a symptom of a deeper problem, meaning I'm overly focused on my fitness goals because I'm insecure about how much I've let my physique go, and I'm taking it out on her unintentionally, rather than being grateful that I have a partner who has worked out with me every day for 440 days. Right. Like, I'm overly focused on what I haven't achieved yet at the expense of her. That I know, I can tell when there's symptoms of it. All of a sudden I'll start being a dick, like kinda. And even that's a spectrum. So like I'm not being compared. I don't think anyone else would notice. It's not like, oh, he's being so mean. No, I can tell that I'm not at my best self. That when you're not at your best self, you know it. At least I know it. It's like, I've been kind of arrogant lately. I've been overly empowered, and I've been like a little bit too intense, which I think there's phases where you need that, but I can kind of tell that if I'm not careful, life's gonna hit me in the head with a brick.
Interesting. I don't know. This is an interesting episode for me because I feel grateful. I think there's a difference between feeling and practicing, and I'm not sure. I guess I could probably like feel it more, like really sit with it when I'm writing stuff out.
You go back to the past. I've noticed this about you.
I did
watch old videos, and
I told you for Mother's Day I went down and saw my mom and my grandmother, and they live a town over from Uxbridge. They live 10 minutes from Uxbridge, and I went to see them.
Which is where we grew up. Yeah.
I went to see them. And I texted Tara and I said, "Hey, I'm headed out, but I'm gonna drive. I gotta go to Uxbridge. I don't know how to explain it. Like I gotta go drive around we had this 3-mile town loop that went through downtown and it went around to where the schools were, and then it's just a town loop.
You're right near where I live.
Yeah, I know. There was a part of me that's
North
like
Uxbridge now.
There's a part of me that was like, gonna go swing by. I knew you wouldn't be home or answer the door, but I don't know.
I was in Bristol, Rhode Island on Sunday.
I was really. I'm having a minor quarter life identity crisis. based on just everything that's going on. And I think for me, that is my natural thing is like, wow, we've come so far since we were kids in Uxbridge, Massachusetts. That, because I think I've been way more focused on goals than ever before. I think I'm probably like 80-20, like goals, then like, yeah, I'm grateful secondarily.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably why.
If you redline that for too long, you'll regret it.
I believe that for sure. I think I have redlined it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Same.
there's been a lot of conversations between you and I behind the scenes about that.
Definitely.
So I think the best answer I can give is just keep checking in.
I think some people are redlining the other way though.
For sure.
They're so focused on, and I get it, right? Be present, stay in the now. I think that's dangerous because if you think about what Kev's saying right now, I'm always trying to like do the metacognition of like what your thoughts are. It's pretty interesting on this episode, like this podcast. But anyways, so you're going back to your hometown going, holy crap, like look at what we've become, not from an ego place, but from like a whoa place compared to what we could have been.
Yeah.
And the only reason why you're having that unbelievable gratitude of like, holy crap, is because you've been so focused on your goals.
Mm.
So if you take away the focus on the goals, you're not going to look back and go, whoa, I've come so far. And so it's constantly a harmonization and integration of, you used to redline too much on gratitude. Now,
sure.
You talk about the days when you pizza's waiting, video games, weed,
I don't know.
whatever.
I think it was more vice than gratitude.
Yeah. That's a great point. Great point. But being present, you were very present. I remember when I first met you, we've known each other since middle school, but you know what I'm saying. When we first got together in our mid-20s, I was extremely goal and growth oriented. You were much more present, much more funny, much more enjoyable to be around. I get it. Of course. If you want a good time, like, I'm probably not the play. That's fine. That's fair. In my past, I would have been for sure when I was in my party days, but not anymore. And that's okay. But if you want to grow and hit your goals, I'm your guy.
Yeah.
And Kev, you are now too, especially in podcasting. But what's my point of all this? You used to you didn't know what your future, and that's what I'd rather have you explain, is like, I've been overly focused on goals at the expense of gratitude in my life. And that life has come and hit me in the head with a brick with that many times. I've been humble pie so many times. I mean, that's a lesson that I have to repeatedly learn. It's like that is just rings true for me. Rings true for me. Kev, for you've been on the other end of the pendulum, and we've both helped each other drive to 5. So what do you say to the people on the other end?
The gratitude?
Yeah, like the ones that are maybe not focused enough on goals. They don't,
Yeah, it's interesting. It's almost like the reason topics like this are so hard is because I don't know unless I know you. That's the weird thing, is most likely, I would guess with a fairly high percentage, if you're hyper present, the reason you haven't accomplished your goals yet is not because you're not present enough. It's most likely because you haven't been goal focused enough. If you've accomplished all your goals and you're miserable, the reason you are unhappy is probably not because you haven't accomplished all of your goals. It's probably because you haven't been present enough. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like, I don't know. It's almost like you would have to question yourself and say, do I not have the stuff that I want because I'm not present enough? Is that really true? Or am I too focused on the present, too focused on what I'm grateful for? Or I have everything I want. I'm miserable. Like, why? You know what? I haven't been focused on the present. I don't even know what I'm grateful for. I'm not grateful for anything I have. I'm just so hungry for what I want. I think that's it. I think that's the interesting thing, is you have to enjoy what you're eating, but you also have to say, well, tomorrow I'm gonna be hungry again. You enjoy the meal you have in front of you, and then you get after it tomorrow. But again, I don't know. I can't claim to have all the answers on this, because I think I'm just in a different season right now where I feel very humbled by life, but I almost feel like I can't. I'm, for the first time ever, making decisions today that I understand how they'll affect me in maybe a year and a half. That's probably as far out as I am currently seeing. But there's a weight to that I didn't realize. You know?
I think it's probably long. I mean, you and I did a decade yesterday in terms of the
Yeah,
numbers.
But that's fair. But I don't know. I couldn't have done that without you. That was
there is a huge weight to that.
Yeah, there's a heavy weight to that.
Yeah.
That I didn't understand.
And now that you believe you can do it, and then you don't, that's where it's like, now I can't be fulfilled.
It's almost like,
you know what I mean?
How do I be grateful for what I have when I know what I have isn't actually going to get me the goal? That's the balance.
Exactly.
So that's an interesting perspective.
If Kevin wants to achieve the dream physique, he posted, if you go to his social media, he posted a picture of us back in 2019. If you want to get back to that level, you do not need more gratitude. You need
I need
more goals.
Get after it.
But if you overly focus on goals, and here's the weird thing, back then you were miserable in comparison to now.
Yeah.
Not with fitness, but in general.
Holistically.
Holistically,
I was riding the struggle bus, yeah.
So that's the constant harmonization that we're talking about right now. And I want to use this as an example. I know we got to jump. I have a client who is of all my clients, she's in the best shape, hands down. And she said this, 139.9 this morning, exclamation points. So excited. But then she said, my energy is shot. I'm exhausted and I'm beyond hungry. LMAO. But we're making progress. So she's fulfilled, but she's also miserable. Weird duality there, I know. How realistic is it to get to 133 without having to drop to like 1,200 calories? I haven't answered her yet. But the point that I'm trying to make is that back when I was in the best shape of my life, I really wasn't grateful enough for it. But of course I'm going to think that now that the reason I wasn't grateful enough, quote unquote, is because I was shooting for something much greater. And that's the duality. How do you shoot for something greater while also being grateful for that which you've achieved? And we're all achieving our way to the unachievable. You have to kind of understand that. And it's all relative based on the frame you're looking at. This person is in the best shape of her life, so she's super pumped. But I guarantee you, if she were to let it all fall, and when she's 50, she's going to look back and go, oh, I should have been way more fulfilled in that body. But that's life. You know, she's 26, crushing it. She's at the peak of her biological career. When you're 50, of course you're going to wish you look like that again.
Yeah, of course.
You know, and there's a whole industry built around that. But you just got to kind of analyze this from both sides of the spectrum and say, am I at 5? If you're at 7 or 8, you're too focused on goals at the expense of your present, at the expense of your life, at the expense of your family, at the expense of taking in the moment. If you're at 0 through 4, you are way too focused on the now and your future's taking a hit.
Well, and I think that's regret.
Exactly. Yep.
If you're out of sync, you're either going to create regret that you didn't spend more time in the present or regret that you didn't plan more for the future.
100%. Well said. That is exactly it. And that's why regret is the best teacher.
Mm.
I regret burning out to the extent that I did this weekend. And Emilia and I talked last night about like how we haven't been super present in our relationship to the extent that we want to. And now that we are, we now know that. But that's life. It's messy. And we're going to continuously learn that lesson. But the very last thing I promise is maybe we're still swinging the pendulum and maybe we always will, right? No one's going to stay at 5 and just have it all figured out. But maybe we won't swing it so damn far. You know what I mean? Maybe instead of 10 and 0 when we were kids, you know, now it's 9 and 1, then 8 and 2, then 7 and 3, then 6 and 4. And maybe now it's like, you know, 5.5 and 4.5. So maybe you're just not swinging the pendulum quite as far. And if you remember you in high school, I'm telling you, I bet you were swinging that damn pendulum way too far to one of the extremes. And as we get older and wiser, we realize that it's just reckless.
Well said. Well said. I'm glad we did this one. This was a very hyper-conscious episode.
It's fire.
We've switched it up a little bit where we used to do a ton of prep where we would, well, I won't say a ton. I didn't do a ton of prep, but Alan was doing more prep in terms of this is the story. This is kind of the direction we're going to go. I think this is a good throwback to the old days where it's a conversation. It's a next level hyperconscious conversation amongst people who are trying to figure it out. Be
We're
curious
back at
about it
5.
all. I think we're back at 5. We're back at 5. If you listen to us and you enjoy what we talk about 7 days a week, make sure you give us a follow on social media. Here's the thing. There's not a lot of, again, I sound weird when I say this, but there's not a lot of podcasts at our level where they say, hey, please reach out on social media and I promise we'll get back to you. That's one of our favorite things in the world when our amazing community members reach out, the NLU family. So if you don't follow us on social and you want to connect with us deeper, we post every single day on social. It's different. You'll see my cats. You'll see Alan's cat and Pooch, and you'll see a different side of us. So I am at Never Quit Kid on Instagram, Kevin Palmieri on Facebook and LinkedIn. Alan is at Lazaros88, Alazaros on Instagram, and then Alan Lazarus on Facebook and LinkedIn. I don't know how much longer we're going to be using LinkedIn, but we're there for now.
For now, yeah. For now. We'll see. The Adventures of Tucker and Tauriel. That's what we call it. Tucker and Tari, they're the cutest brother and sister ever of all time. They love each other, but they also spar regularly.
Of course.
It's actually hilarious to watch.
Who wins?
Tucker's like a linebacker, and he throws his weight around. Tariel is all limbs.
Who wins? Tariel.
Honestly,
probably.
Tariel.
Yeah, of course.
Tariel. Yeah.
Cats are fast. Real quick, I know this is a waste of everybody's time. I saw a video the other day. Okay. It's this cat that's looking at a snake. It's like just looking at it. And the snake goes to bite it, and it comes out of the way and gives it a left hook. And then under it says, cats have faster reaction times than snakes. I was like, oh my. I'm a combat sports person. It's a check left hook is what the cat gets it with. But it's so interesting how the cat just moves its head off to the side and slaps it. It's like, makes it look very easy. Cats are alien creatures.
They're unbelievable.
Yeah.
Tariel can open doors.
Cat mug.
Genuinely can open doors.
Of course. Yeah.
What were we talking about?
We were talking about stuff and things.
What was I plugging? This is the second episode
Podcast
in a row.
Growth University.
You can tell that I'm winging it now. I used to have this stuff written down.
I have, over the last 6 years. You want to do it?
Yeah. All right. So Kev is the leader of this department. So this podcast is primarily his responsibility. So if this has gone off the rails, it's really his fault, honestly. But we trust him to grow our show. Yeah. And you should trust him to help you grow yours. He has a podcast. It's called Podcast Growth U. It's kind of like Next Level U, but not as cool.
It's better.
But it's better in some ways and worse in others. No, it's if you are a podcaster and you aspire to grow an audience, monetize your show, build and grow a business underneath that, Kevin is your guy. Podcast Growth U. It's Podcast Growth University. You can find it on any of the podcast platforms, and it's going to be Kev helping you grow your show.
Yeah, if you want free coaching, go listen to that because I'm going to talk. I talk on the podcast about exactly what I talk to my clients about. Obviously, it won't be as specific or deep, but if you're a podcaster, I promise everything that we have done and everything that we've tried and everything we've learned, you will hear on Podcast Growth U. Thank you for the plug, my friend. Tomorrow for episode number 1,342. Oh, this is going to be another deep one. One powerful thought that you need to understand. I'm not even going to tease it because I don't want to give it away. Make sure you check that episode out. It's going to be very, very deep. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. Subscribe if you haven't, please. And as always, at NLU, we don't have fans. We have family. We'll talk to you all tomorrow.
Focus on gratitude and your goals. Next Level Nation.